Well, okay, the first one's a little thing, but it was curious. So I do all these care home concerts, and one place I've been going into for 6 months, and there's one they've all got dementia, pretty much, and one of them, she says she's like so complimentary. She's really gushing with how great I am and thank you and love. But the last time I went in, she was exactly the opposite. Like really rude and like she'd be shouting out in the middle of the song, "You're rubbish. When we're going to get somebody decent on? Oh, is that the best you can do?" And so the first 10 minutes, I found it hilarious, and I was just kind of bantering with her and making a joke of it. But after a bit, it just got in, and I just felt like a reaction basically, and feeling hurt. And I mean, I didn't believe her, because it's obviously her dementia, but I was just so interested in how hurt I felt by this, obviously completely irrational person just saying those words over and over, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you said, excuse me, you said that you found it interesting. Did you really have a curious attitude?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Yeah. I was really like, isn't that interesting? Even though it's obviously not at all. I mean, what is it? It's just a crazy woman saying things that come into her head that have no bearing on reality, whatever that is, or truth.
Yeah, isn't it interesting that that can get to you?
Yeah.
And if it was not a crazy woman, if it was some authority, if let's say it was some music buff that was saying the same thing.
It would have got to me a lot sooner than 10 minutes in.
Yeah, yeah. But I liked your response, you know. I mean, the fact that it got to you is irrelevant. The fact that it got to you is not where the focus needs to be. It is in how you responded, not to
Mm.
her, but how you responded to the getting to your part.
Yeah, right.
And the fact that you find that interesting, and it is interesting. I mean,
Mm.
what a great opportunity. I mean, we don't normally get this kind of confrontation, do we?
Yeah,
You know,
right.
to get to, even if it's a crazy woman, doesn't matter. Even if it's dementia, it doesn't matter. Because what it's doing is it's triggering your beliefs about yourself, isn't it?
Mm. Or triggering some memory or something, I guess, or
Yeah, yeah. Some, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And so
Interesting.
the opportunity to recognize that's still there is
Yeah,
great. Now, kind of, it's really weird because we say to recognize that it's still there, but after an experience like that, it's not going to be there the same. How much
no.
is how much it degrades is
Mm.
another story, you know. But the fact is that you got the opportunity to be triggered.
Yeah,
Your attitude towards the triggering was that it was interesting. We're not talking about the content of what she was saying. That just pulled the trigger, didn't it?
mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, so I'm having lots of these kind of experiences where I can do, isn't it interesting? Um, but I'm just curious as to how much of that the other ones really. I suppose they're the I don't know. Um, so what do I mean? Like I was thinking about it just before I came on this morning. I was listening to a previous meeting. Um, there's so much happens when I'm triggered, when there's a triggering. Um, there's like so many different parts of my psyche that are reacting and responding and curious and hurt and worried and
Good
stepping back
stuff.
and just watching, and it's all going on. So just
Yeah. So, and you're seeing that it's a multitude of things that are happening,
mm,
which is also really good, really excellent. I mean, once upon a time, it would have been the content and you totally entwined, and that's it. And now that you
mm,
can see all these different aspects of it, that's also a really good thing. You know, how
yeah,
about this? The time will come when you'll be looking forward to somebody doing that just to see if there's anything left. Yeah.
yeah, right. Hmm.
So it is a complexity that is indefinable in it
Mm,
really. I mean, what we have is a whole lot of things mixed up together. We have good and bad mixed up together. We have, yin and yang. It's all going on all at the same time.
mm,
Yeah.
hmm,
And so you see that it's not just triggering one aspect of
hmm,
your belief
hmm,
about yourself, but in fact, a whole lot of things are involved.
yeah. And then they react to each other as well.
They do. It's absolutely. And so it's infinite, the complexity.
Yeah.
It's the old way was to kind of reduce it to some kind of simplistic notion and then react to that.
Hmm.
And it's kind of weird stuff. It really is. I had I had a really interesting conversation with my wife coming home. We had to go out and we're on the way home, and she's saying, "Well, I'll buy these pizza bases because they're really nice pizza bases. Do you like these pizza bases?" You know, and I said, "Yeah, they're okay." No, I don't want to know that they're okay. I want to know, do you like them or not? No, they're okay. Do you want to get them? Well, would you rather have? And I kept trying to say to her, take me literally. What I say literally. Don't get lost in your idea of what's going on. Hear me what I'm
Hmm.
saying. And if I'm saying
Yeah.
it's neither black nor white, what's involved here is that I know you like them, and so I'm happy to go along with them. No, 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 we can't have that. You've got to make a decision.
Right.
Yeah. It gets very, very tricky, and because there is this multitude of perspectives all happening at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. And to say whether, I mean, I was gonna say to say whether it's whether I'm doing well and I'm pleased with where I'm at, that kind of thing. To try and make an analysis of whether it's an improvement, I suppose. I suppose you can see what it's difficult. I think it's difficult to really assess and come out with you know a like a grade of like how well am I doing compared to how I was doing last year or something.
Difficult, I would say impossible. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Because, what are you going to measure? You got to have something to measure it against. And
yeah,
so there's nothing. You can't, yeah.
yeah,
Yet, and again, this is the complexity of it. Yet you can feel good about what's happening or feel otherwise,
yeah.
you know, and
Well, but
and
that
all of
too
that's
is
based
possibly,
on, yeah,
yeah. What's that based on? I mean, that too is, I don't know, feeling good. I've had a couple of incidents recently where I've felt good about something, and then trying to look at that and like work out, well, is that just some another kind of triggering, and because in a way it is, isn't it? I know
yeah,
the Buddhists
absolutely.
they distinguish between happiness and contentment or something, and say maybe that maybe those aren't the words you would use, but happiness being a kind of triggering in a way. Contentment being something that's a bit steadier and more kind of backgroundy or fundamental or something, I
You could write a book about it.
guess. Well, many have been written, haven't they?
Yeah, yeah. So of course you're at the point where you can see that something quote quote good happens, and the what it's again, it's not about what happens, but what gets triggered. And then it's not about what gets triggered, it's about what triggers the triggering. And so the complexity of it again. So whether it's good or bad, whether it's a pleasant or unpleasant experience, something's been triggered. And we're not looking to a point where nothing gets triggered. We're
Mm.
just looking to a point where we don't spiral off into
Yeah,
secondary kind of things.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you're going to start measuring things, well, I'm fucked. I can't do that. I've got no way to measure what's going on here. Do I measure against some image that I had of what enlightenment is back when I was a seeker, or do I measure it against what I feel quite strongly about now is that I simply don't know. I've got no idea. Does it exist? I don't know.
Yeah.
If it does, it's certainly not part of my experience, and I tend to be a bit skeptical about stories of what it is. Do I know people? So when I listen to, I'll read, I see some quotes by Adyashanti, or Eckhart Tolle. They fit pretty well with my ideas. So do I say, well, they've got something I haven't got? It's just their version of what it is. I don't know, but I don't see in the real life there that I'm missing out on anything.
Mm.
If I go back to seeking days and start looking at, you know, texts from Milarepa and all of those kind of things, then of course you get to the idea that there's something transcendent that's yet to happen kind of thing. But no, I don't think I'd be, even if it exists, I'd be doing nobody a favor by focusing on that stuff. Right? This
Mm.
is this is really human stuff, really basic human conditioning kind of stuff.
Well, can
So,
I ask you? I mean, what is the? I haven't been to any of his meetings. I went to one of his meetings. I think Marius, I'm talking about, and
right.
he seems to be saying something a bit different. I don't know if that's really true when you drill down into it. But one of the things that makes me curious is, this thing he says, do you want to awaken or do you want to have a better dream? Do you want to have a more comfortable dream? Um, and I guess that I'm wondering what he means by that, because perhaps what we do here is what I think I've heard you say is getting to a place where we're okay with whatever turns up. Um, is he talking about something different? Do you know? Do you care?
I've thought about it a lot. In fact, I asked Marius to take this meeting so I could go and do something else, but that didn't work out. So here I am. But um, no, yeah, see, I don't think he's talking about something different. I think he's what he's making a big deal of, and I feel that's quite legitimate, is bypassing stuff, fooling ourselves that we're okay when in fact we're not.
Hmm.
So his idea of waking up and my idea of waking up, I kind of think they're pretty much the same thing. Uh, Except I'm just going to go a different route to him. His idea is that we've got to burn away the old stuff. And
Mm,
I'm not saying burn it away. I'm just saying let's just leave it behind.
mm,
So it depends how
mm,
far you go. See, what I'm quite happy for anybody who comes here. This is a joke when I think about it, saying it like this, but I'm quite happy for anybody to kind of peel off at any point and say, my life's better than it used to be. I came here because I was uncomfortable about something, call it suffering if you like, and now I'm not suffering. So, and if they peel off and do that, that's fine. But if they want to stay, we'll keep going, and we can keep going until we recognize a whole lot of things that are not necessary in order to just ease suffering. So the easing of suffering is really a first stage thing. And then
mm,
after that, we can go further. We can have much deeper experiences. But
mm,
I don't mind where people go to.
mm,
The fact that some people want to go further appeals to me because that's what it triggers stuff in me when we do that. When we start, so you'll hear me from time to time getting all woo-wooish about things, and it's like, wow, that's a fantastic. I love that. It's the experience that happens here in this body is really, really good when I get into that stuff.
mm.
But for those who are just seeking beginnings, or who haven't had a shift of recognizing the the illusion of self. See, I don't like to say it like that, but kind of like that is what I mean. Talking about the woo-wooish stuff is no help. It's no value to them, especially if they go, well, I want that, and then they
Mm,
start seeking that. That's no good. There's no help in that. Yeah. So Marius's experience in himself, his own experience was, there was a dark night of the soul, so to speak. He had a breakdown with the pressure, and out of that breakdown came his awakening. Now, so he seems to think that that's the way it is
mm.
going to be for everybody. I'm
Yes, that.
I'm not meaning to put words in his mouth. I think that's the case. It may not be. Whereas for me, I went through the dark night stuff way before I woke up. So when I woke up, it, it was all pretty good. There was no heavy duty stuff. The heavy duty stuff was as a seeker. The obsession
Mm,
was really heavy duty for me. But after waking up, it got very light. It got a bit
mm,
heavy when I was doubting, but that was only for a few months. So I don't see that there's anything to burn up. I just see that there's a whole lot of conditioning to leave behind.
mm,
And that's all got to do with recognition. If we recognize what triggers us, if we recognize that we have beliefs still, that's enough for it to start to
mm.
shift. Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah,
Probably doesn't, but yeah.
no, it does. Yeah, and I think, yeah, it makes sense. Um, I
So
guess
I mean, if
it's
you were to start to help people now, let's say somebody comes along that you can talk about this stuff with them, it seems to me obvious that you would use your own experience
well,
as
exactly.
a way of relating to them, and so you would be able to see quite clearly because of where you are when they're lost in concept. When they're believing an illusion to be actual, you can see that. And so from your own experience, you would pull up happenings that helped you see through that. And
Yeah.
that's just the way it is with everybody. Every I don't know how you what do we have a label? Every person who guides is going to use their own experience.
Yeah, I guess so. Until maybe, you've been doing it long enough to realize that, oh, well, maybe my experience was just one version of it. And
Absolutely.
uh,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. And there are a lot of other experiences for sure. Yeah. So I'd love to have some say a conversation with Ajashanti, who's a man that's been around a long time and saw through
yeah,
things a long time ago and had a lot of experience and therefore I imagine a lot of growth, quote, quote, growth, as a result of helping other people,
yeah,
but then got really sick.
yeah.
So that's got to humble you, hasn't it? Like you think
I
you,
know.
yeah,
And he
so
doesn't, he doesn't seem very happy to me, which is very confusing to me. He seems like,
yeah,
my girlfriend.
it's probably his personality. I mean, we don't develop a new
Yeah,
personality with this stuff. I mean, it
yeah, I
varies,
guess
of
so.
course, but yeah, yeah.
But,
I don't
but
know. I don't know whether I mean, I haven't had enough to do with him to know about that, but I have good
no, no.
feelings towards him. But all of the so-called teachers, Ramana Maharshi and Nisargadatta, they all got sick in the end.
That's right. And died quite early.
Yeah,
Died quite young. Yeah. And which really, it just puts the kibosh on any of the kind of magical stuff you hear, doesn't it? About being able to heal.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah, well, I've got to laugh when people say, well, if I get enlightened, I'll be able to control my own health. Well, oh, yeah, what a joke. Yeah. Oh, certainly it'll affect it, but control it? Nah, that doesn't quite work, like, yeah. Yeah.
Right.
But what's life like without PTSD, without stress hormones or whatever, or
Mm.
if they come, but they don't last a long time.
Yeah, it's gonna be a positive, isn't it, for your health? But it's not gonna stop you dying of
Yeah.
cancer.
If you still get cancer, you get cancer. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, Jesus, I smoked for 20 years, a lot of tobacco. Wow. That's, and I, it affected my lungs.
yeah, right.
And is that
Yeah,
going
me,
to
me,
heal? I don't know. Yeah. Is it going to take me out in the end? Maybe. I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And of course, we talk about waking up and the experience of waking up and the years of being awake. And then how do I separate that from just age, the experience of being old.
Mm,
Right? I mean, I like to say this. It kind of misleads a little bit, but I like to say, next year I'm 80. You know. Now, how about this? But this year I'm 79. So in October I'll turn 79. Next October I'll turn 80. Right. So I kind of get that. Well, things have changed in this body and this mind as a result of being around for all those years. Hormones are different. That's a big one. I can remember when I was driven by hormones a lot. Well, that seem to be the case anymore.
mm,
So that's a fantastic relief that comes with
yeah.
getting old. And poor young Jack there, he's still got hormones racing at a great rate. Yeah.
God, yeah, I was remembering the other day what it was like. I don't know if this is exactly what you're talking about, but I used to just have to go out and try and find a woman because I was just so desperate to have sex. Like
Yeah, 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 for sure.
I would, yeah, just do crazy things, and now I can't quite remember what that was like. I know I did it, and I know
Yeah,
that.
you can remember that it happened, but yeah, not what it felt like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's there's a lot goes on, isn't there? It's a incredibly complex experience as
Absolutely.
being a human. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
See, so
And
the idea that back to measuring how you're going and so on. I'm guessing that you're getting really close to the point where it becomes just a laughable irrelevancy. This idea of are you awake or are you not awake? Who gives a shit what we call it? It's just a label, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine that, and I can see that things are gradually loosening up for me. But yeah, I'm definitely not at that point. But yeah, I can imagine it could come at
Yeah.
some point.
It's probably close. Yeah. Or not. Who knows? Yeah.
Who knows, eh? This last week, I mean, I've just found myself kind of in a little mini depression, and I didn't really. The strange thing was, I didn't really couldn't by looking into my experience, I didn't know what was going on. I
Fine.
could just
Yep.
see that I was behaving in a certain way,
Yep.
and my girlfriend was reflecting it back to me.
Yep.
And then, when I tried to analyze it, I could see a friend of mine had died a few days earlier, but I just didn't feel any big, massive grief thing coming up.
Yeah.
And like a week before that, some other thing had happened that was really a big kind of loss for me. But again, there didn't seem to be any really obvious causal, this is what I'm feeling, I'm remembering that, and that's why I'm having this
Yeah.
experience now.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. So this happens. There are. I mean, I have the odd. I was going to say the odd day, but it's probably not a day. The odd experience of feeling a bit flat, feeling a bit, not energetic, not whatever. Sometimes you might kind of put a depression label or the close to the edge of that or something. I don't know. And there's no obvious reason, but there's a knowing that there's nothing I have to do, and it will pass. It will change. It's just
Mm,
like, okay, so there's a subtlety to this, a complexity and a subtlety, presumably. The subtlety is more than a presumption, but the complexity is a presumption that says, well, something's going on. Now,
mm,
is that something just taken me down, or is it something that's working its way out, something
mm,
that's resolving itself, something that's letting go? I have no idea. But I
mm,
do know from experience that they're not really that big. In fact,
mm,
if I was busy, I wouldn't even notice it sometimes,
mm.
you know. But I am noticing it, and it just it's it's almost irrelevant that it's going on. It's just the mood at the moment, you know.
For me, this it was quite a big thing. I could see that I was quite different to how I normally am, and it was affecting other people, and then when I kind of clocked, oh, it's possibly about this friend dying, and these are so I did a process, and and it brought some tears and stuff, uh, and then that seemed to kind of get things moving a bit for me. I do find that sometimes I can. It seems that there's a kind of stasis,
Mm.
and I benefit from doing something that
Sure.
gets in there a bit more.
Yeah. See, so for example, here's an interesting one that it's kind of a gross simplification to say a friend died, now I'm feeling bad. right? Well, whatever kind of version of that we get, there can be quite contradictory emotions involved
Mm,
with something like that, right? Depending on
right.
how he died, you could be thankful that he died quickly. You could be thankful that he's now not in pain any longer. You can be, at the same time as you can feel that, you can be sad that he's gone. So all of these things can exist at the same time. So it's impossible to tease one out and say, that's what I'm feeling, because you're
Mm,
actually feeling a whole lot of things.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But
And
I
sometimes
thought
the
there's
balance will
probably,
be that way, and other times it'll be that way. Yeah.
yeah, you can't certainly can't predict it, can you? And like you say, it can go many different ways. But I think my point is just that sometimes there seems to be a bit of a stuckness going on in my emotions. And I mean, I don't quite know what my point is really, but um, I
Well, it's a good
guess,
one. It's a good one to say if there's a stuckness, what is that experience? Not how do we fix it? How do we get unstuck? But rather what's actually happening. And then unsticking will happen or not. But essentially, we're not trying to fix it. We're just being curious about what's actually happening.
well, I mean, let's say I did a process. The process I do for these things is basically just a structured way of really going into what's happening, you know.
Mm. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. And if that results, and it very likely will, in getting unstuck, then great.
yeah.
The purpose of doing that is not to unstick. Right? If you can see that, you're much more likely to resolve something underneath it. Whereas if you're just out to fix being stuck, you tend to ignore what's going on underneath it.
I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you've got techniques and ways of getting in and going with it, great. That's again another complex situation. You're giving yourself permission to experience that which you can't describe. And so it might
Right.
end up just being expressed in an emotional way, maybe with tears or a feeling of some kind, whatever. Yeah. So there's a flavor of a softness, a compassion towards yourself in what we're
Mm,
talking about. You're
yeah.
not kind of getting the whip out and saying, well, you got to, or anything like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure. Kindness,
Mm,
care.
yep.
Yeah.
Acceptance. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So the crazy thing is that we go, and I say this a bit frequently, but I say it in a simplistic way, and that is that what will happen is as we remove filters, is we experience a full range of human emotions.
Mm,
But when you think about that, you can see that the complexity of any emotion, there's no such thing as a single emotion. But
mm,
every emotion contains a whole lot of different things. And so the complexity of it is becomes indescribable. And so
mm,
the way we express it can't really be described as doing anything. We just have this ex expression that takes place, whether it be in tears or whether it be in laughter or whatever, however it turns up. That's an expression expressing the inexpressible in a way, or
mhm.
the indescribable at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one of the other kind of processes I use Um, I find it quite interesting. It's it's quite structured in some way, and they have um, this description of what happens when our emotions move and release, and some of the things that they talk about are not generally considered to be anything to do with emotions. So, like for example, they say the, within the forms of they call it discharge, emotion, discharging energy, and so like you say, laughing is in there and crying is in there, but then also they have yawning, sweating, stretching, talking with energy, stuff like that. Things that
Mm.
aren't always recognised, but I've come to see them as other forms of belching, even. At least when
Mm.
energy's moving, it can. There are various ways it can manifest, I think.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, that's interesting too, and that it takes us to simply exist is to express.
Nice,
Mm.
nice.
So how have you been, Jack?
But okay. Um, if I asked you what are you or who are you, how would you answer that? And you can say you don't know. I don't. It's that's.
Ah, no, I
I
just
hear a
had.
lot of opinions on the internet. Of does that make sense? Like
uh, so I answered you.
you laughed. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Mm.
Um,
So it's not a very clear answer in a way because you have to then imagine what's behind the laughter. But yeah, no. So again, what I'm saying with my laughter is moo.
okay. Okay. Interesting. I have no further questions on that. Maybe. How
Mm.
about this? What is a self? What are we seeing through? I'm quite annoyed at this concept of self,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
what I'm like supposed to get rid of or see through. I
Good.
don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're not supposed to get rid of it, right? And you said concept of self. I heard the whole thing. I didn't just hear the word self. So the way I see it, at best we can have an illusion of a self, or rather, at worst, we can have an illusion of a self. At best, we can recognize that we have the illusion. But the word illusion is a little bit loaded too. So let's say in a more in a better way, we could say we can have a sense of self. But I would still put the emphasis on the word sense rather than self. So it's a sense of self. So it's a feeling or um, well, yeah, it's a feeling that I exist. But can you see that in order to play with that, you've kind of got to get somewhere out here and look back at something
To
and then describe it.
yeah, sort of.
But from in here, it doesn't make sense to talk about self. from in here, there's talking, there's seeing,
Hmm.
whatever is going on from in here is just an expression of some sensory organ being activated, which, and I'll include the mental organ there because it's pretty sensory as well. But so we're never trying to get rid of a self. We're simply trying to recognize that it's a description of something.
Yeah.
And I say of something because it's impossible to define that something completely. It's infinitely complex.
Yeah. And if we're talking about the self, it would be infinitely subjective and interpretation and
Yeah.
but then so
But
how can you say like there's no self-realization? Like what would that even mean? Does that make sense?
let me ask you, did you say there's no self realization or no self realization?
Uh, um, I think I know what you meant. I kind of forget what I was.
So if we go back to some kind of tradition, we might say the term self-realization has been around for a while. What does that actually mean? Probably nobody's actually looked at what it means. I don't know if that's the case. I mean, probably somebody has, but essentially, self-realization is realizing that there is no self, maybe from this perspective anyway. If we go out to another school of self-improvement, then self-realization might simply be referring to boundaries that people have or don't have.
See, I was actually asking about no self-realization,
Right.
but I don't know. I've been working on this LU thing, and it's the idea of self. I'm kind of like, I don't really know. There's still lots of I thoughts, and they're still highly believable, and they're still suffering. But I don't know what I'm missing.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I know what you're missing now. That's good, isn't it? Um, the whole point of recognizing that self is just a collection of stories that we respond to is to start experiencing the ramifications of that. So that in itself is irrelevant almost. It's totally useless. I mean, whether there's a self or no self, it doesn't matter. But if you realize that there is only an illusion of a self, or that self is a whole bunch of concepts that we've collected and that we respond to and have a physical experience when we respond to them, all of a sudden we don't need to respond to those stories because we can recognize them as stories, not as we don't take them to be true. We don't take them to be actual. So it's
Okay,
the
so if you were to
fact.
say realization 101 is seeing story as story, regardless of whether we call it no self or self or
Yeah.
Okay. So that then my next question is, how did you get to the point where you were like, oh, everything I thought was real is a story, and you're also sure that it's a story, or sure it's not act. Does that make sense? Like,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I
also, I'm sorry if I sound, I realized I'm sounding very aggressive towards you. I'm just,
no,
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 there's
you're
no truth.
fine. You're
I'm
fine.
sorry.
Listen,
I just,
shut up. You're fine. You're perfectly fine. It's good that we can kind of get into this at this level. This is good stuff. Now, you have to accept though, I can't tell you of a turning point. It kind of snuck up on me in a way. I do remember that after the my initial epiphany that this is it, that it was only a week or a couple of weeks after that I went to LU and they asked me about a self. And it was really obvious to me that self was just a collection of stories. And I don't know how that happened. I don't know where that came from. I hadn't even thought about self before that. It was my epiphany was that this experience is all I've got. And to want it to be different is crazy, absolute insanity. So that was my initial epiphany. And then where self came in, I don't know. It just became really obvious that there was no self. I don't know why or how or whatever. Yeah.
the word self is, I'm starting to totally lose all meaning for me just
Mm.
by. So here's something I've been running into, and my other guy just said like stop listening to people, essentially, like stop trying to. But it's that there's in all this you hear like no self, no you, I don't exist, but then also like I'm awareness, the eternal I, the big self. Like there's so many terms floating around.
Yeah. How about this one? This is a good way to shortcut all of that. Every one of those is a story.
Okay.
What have you got that's not a story? Only your current experiencing. The only thing that is actual is your current experiencing. Everything else is a story. So what's the ramifications of that? Where does that lead you? Do you chase this story down or that story down? And when you do chase it down, are you looking to find whether it's true or not? It's still a story. Stories can be true or false or anything in between, but they're stories. So how relevant are they to you?
I don't
That's the
know. I
ramification.
don't know what a story is,
Yes, you
what
do.
my actual experience is. I don't know
Right. So, all
any of
right. So
that.
you have an actual experience, and your experience at the moment is that you're sitting there talking to me.
Okay.
Right. Now that's a bit gross, that description, isn't it? Because there's a lot more going on than just sitting there talking to me. But
Yeah.
that is your
But you
experience.
mean my interpretation of what you're saying is kind of like I'm seeing something, but it's I could easily call it a laptop and agree
Yep,
with
yep,
you,
yep, yep.
right? Like, yeah. I wouldn't say to me that feels any more like solid than a million things I could think of and interact with in the thought world, if
Mm,
that makes sense. Like,
yeah, yeah. So I'm looking at you on the screen, right? This is just a way of saying it. I'm looking at Jack on the screen, and I'm listening to Jack talk. And when you said the word laptop, all of a sudden I went, "Oh, okay, this is happening on a laptop." But until you said it, I wasn't even aware of the laptop. I could have been, but I wasn't. What I was focusing on the sound of your voice and the appearance of you, your expressions, etc. Right? So then we get, well, what is my experience? You can say I'm sitting in a car. But before I said that word car, I wasn't thinking about that. I wasn't aware of that. My experience was beyond description. The
Yeah.
details are too complex to describe. So I can pull out and in on my focus and describe various things. But what is actually going on now is I'm experiencing the way my voice is vibrating in my throat, simply because that's where I'm focusing. Or I'm focusing on your eyes and I can see your eyes. And they're both in shadow, right? But that's irrelevant, well, that's where I'm focusing on,
Do you
right?
kind of, how do you cope? I mean, I kind of just move through it, but how do you cope with like the kind of pit that that opens up of unknowability, undescribability, uncertainty, anything, right? Like you kind of just move through life guessing,
No, I
is
don't
my
guess.
take on what.
No, but I like that. That gives me a good experience. But see, I'm not even aware of that until you say it. But because I'm saying now, I've got to step it. I'm pull back a
Yeah,
little
wait,
bit.
you need to explain. I don't understand.
Yeah, yeah. So, so when you say, how do I cope with that unknowing, not knowing? I don't cope with it. I don't even know about it until we talk about it. But when we talk about it, I realize that yes, there's that what is missing is me going through life going, I know this, I know that, I know this, I know that. I'm not doing that. But my experience is not not that, and it's not
Mm,
that emptiness thing.
I
It
see.
exists, but
Sorry,
my
I'm trying to
experience
connect
is
you.
that I'm talking to you. And I'm not thinking about what I'm going to say to you. I'm just out it comes. There's just talking. There's just interacting. There's a feeling, when I can shift my focus to all sorts of things. And when I shift my focus to here, there's this feeling of oh, nice. It's a nice feeling towards you, you know?
Thank you.
Well, you don't have to thank me. It's just, yeah. See, I can't. What I'm trying to get over to you in a way, one of the things is that experience is not something you can describe. It's if you can describe it, it's you've reduced it to a simplistic notion. So the actual experience is pretty full, but I can't tell you about it. I can't tell you about it at the level of that fullness. I can only experience it at the level of that fullness. But you see, because and again, this is just what pops into mind, is one of the reason I can experience that fullness, that empty fullness, that full emptiness, is because I'm not doing right. And there I'm up into my head with a story. What I'm not doing is justifying my existence or playing word games to feel good or whatever. I mean, I just know that I feel good because I'm here. I don't need to do anything to make myself feel good.
Yeah.
And when you ask me about the emptiness and I focus on it, oh, it feels so warm and encompassing and supportive. It's very supportive. It's a lovely feeling of not needing to worry about anything, because anything that I can think of to worry is just a story. So yes, there's that relationship to stories that I've got that you haven't got yet. And that is that I see stories as stories, and so they're held very lightly. Some are more accurate than others, some are more meaningful than others, some are relatable, and some are just rubbish. But essentially, because they're stories, they don't push and pull me very much.
Hmm.
And I have to say this is something that I realized a little earlier, is that I'm, it's hard to say it accurately as well. But maybe the closest I can get would be that I feel a bit sad that stories still have such a pull on you.
Hmm.
But that'll lessen.
Hmm.
And then I have a story pops up that every time you have a mini experience of a story existing and not pulling and pushing you, um, it expands things for you. It'll happen more.
I'm back to again, like I've never, maybe sometimes when I hear other people do it, it's like, okay, you're telling a story or you're believing a societal narrative. But internally, I've never like been suffering and been like, oh yeah, that was a story. You might remind me and cut it out of me, sort of, but really what the only thing that I feel like has happened to me is I've just had to completely let go of any reference to anything. Like just complete unknown.
Hmm.
Which has been kind of cool, but it's like so what? I didn't come here to.
Yeah, no, that's a
Well, I
good
don't know
approach.
what I came here. Actually, I can't say I know, but
Hmm. Well, let's come back to why you came here, but just yeah. So with that shift, if you like, into that place, that can provoke a whole lot of things as well. You can start to feel irresponsible. You can even start to feel guilty that you're not taking seriously what other people take seriously, what your mentors and peers take seriously. It's like going to church and say, I don't believe in God. Well, well, won't that get some reactions, eh? Mm.
sure.
So nothing is quite as clean cut as we like it to be. Everything's complex.
Why? You can just drop it. Does that make sense? Like things get too complex for me recently. I'm just like, all right, back to my feet.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's a good way to do it. And then it'll come back and you'll do it again and gradually you'll work your way through it all. Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, you're right. Sometimes it's, I don't know, just why. When I reflect on suffering, I can maybe see like any single individual moment or every single individual moment has gotten 2% softer. That's not a lot. That's not a lot of percent. Like when I'm really suffering, it still sucks less dramatically in terms of like, oh man, this is crazy, but still the same, like this feels terrible. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I get that. Okay, yeah. So there's a couple of, an interesting one that popped into mind is somebody famous playing with maths in a really weird way. Anyway, so so you can say 2% is not much because it still leaves 98%. That's one perspective. You can say 2% is 200% more than zero.
100% increase. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you
Yeah,
can,
but okay, but I'm not gonna like
yeah,
whatever. Glass half full, glass half empty. I'm seeing the glass half empty, and
yeah,
that's my experience of it.
yeah. But you recognize that 2%. That's pretty significant.
No, it's not. It's
Call it
a
the thin end of the wedge, if you like. That makes it sound a bit more positive, doesn't it?
say what?
Call it the thin end of the wedge. And recognize too, all seekers want 100% instantly.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And at some point you'll come to realize there's no zero and there's no 100%.
Hmm.
And then anything in between is just a story as well.
Okay.
But wanting it is not wrong. That's
No, I
that's
mean,
that's also
I see
part
what
of
you
it,
mean, actually.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you recognize that everything is so incredibly complex that even to get any notion that we can talk about is to simplify it to a huge degree. That what's actually going on at any point is just beyond any ability to isolate anything. Nothing is isolated. Everything's in combination. Everything's in interacting with everything else all the time. And so it's incredibly complex, infinitely complex. And we just have to
Yeah.
simplify it a bit just to be able to talk about it. But it doesn't mean that we're describing reality or describing what actually is. We're just having a go at it. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. No, I get it's yeah.
It's like it's stirring the pot or poking the bear or whatever you like to call it. It just shakes things up and then they have to settle down again and we see how they rearrange.
Yeah. It's like right now isn't so bad. So it's not like I even actually want to be different from right now. It's just that even if it's fantasy, in 2 days, tomorrow I'm gonna be sitting through another storm. And I'm not, yeah, I've never seen it deviate from that mean.
Yeah.
Not one
Yeah.
time.
Okay. Yeah.
In fact, I've been taking in a lot of information recently that it might not. Like the idea of like you are the unchanging essence behind everything. Like what it feels like to be you as a being has always been the same, always feels the same. Now, like you might see different things and think different things, and but like to be Vince is, I don't know, is that
Mm.
of course I'm being negative, but
Good.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds a bit kitschy even to say, well, okay, tomorrow might be another storm. So what? Isn't now what's important? Isn't appreciating now where the value is for you? So put off worrying about the storm until it happens. But that's just too glib, isn't it?
I mean, I see the truth and fairness of that. At the same time, I kind of feel the perspective of like when you tell someone that's actively suffering, you're already enlightened, so they're gonna be like, well, fuck off. Like,
Yeah, yeah, I would go along with that too. Yeah, fuck off. Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because what you're saying is I'm not going to appreciate what you're experiencing now. So if somebody's suffering, what they're experiencing is it's valuable to get into that. And that's the best way out of it, not to deny it or pretend it's not there or overlay it with a story, bypass something. That's no good. If you're suffering, you're suffering, and fuck, it hurts, man, doesn't it? Mm.
Yeah, okay. One of the things that resonated the most of it last week was like, you're not, you will not escape your pain.
No, you won't. But you will come to see it differently. You will come to have a different experience of it. But it'll probably
Yeah,
never feel good.
okay, makes sense. Okay,
Well,
I will let Tammy have a go.
yeah,
Thank you,
we lost
Florence.
Florence.
I know.
It's all right. That happens. What happens? We don't
Yeah, no, I get it.
know what we lost. We just saw a Florence name turn up and an instant of head and then gone. Yeah. Anyway, that's life. That's the way it is. Yeah. So how's life for you, Tammy?
Hey guys, hey Vince. Um, I think um, trying, yeah. So I think like some pain has returned. So I was getting worried that I needed like painkillers to function the last couple days, but I also wasn't sleeping till 4 or 5 in the morning. But trying not to yell at myself. So all night, instead of panicking that I'm not sleeping, just like, okay, enjoying looking into the darkness. Okay, not sleeping, just trying not to
Mm,
get really upset or about the pain, not to project into the future or like, am I getting worse? And how do I have to change my whole life? All of those things, trying not to get into panic or again, that usually throws me into trying to rethink and reoptimize every single decision I've ever made. So I'm trying not to go there yet. especially as there's also other signs that the body is healing. So, trying, it's easier to not panic when some of the things are green, like good. Um, and then I had an experience the other day, like trying to relax more in public, or like go to the park and do exercise, or go to the forest and close my eyes and meditate or something. And when people pass by, I kind of stop exercise. I'm like a deer in headlights. I kind of freeze and stop and wait till people pass, or open my eyes so I don't look too weird. But then I'll sit again cross-legged on the bench, or I don't know, stretch or something. So just trying to experiment with feeling safer in the body around regular life things, um, if they feel safe enough. Um, yeah, and I again worked with that lady that I told you about a while ago, where I had that weird experience, and the images of my mother and me as a baby and clinging and all this kind of weird stuff that came up. So we did another exercise like that, and I wasn't sure if to work on like deepening into the piece, or if to look at and observe tensions, or go into like to go into difficult stories, go into difficult sensations, or to deepen into peace. And as it turned out, I was sitting on a bench and some people passed, and that brought up like my habitual like freezing when people pass, or all of the stuff was coming up. So instead of getting upset, I was like, okay, this is what the universe, God, whatever is presenting to me now. Like, we're doing this experiment. And instead of getting upset that I'm not thinking into peace, maybe this is what exactly I need. It's showing me in this safe space, all my patterns are coming up so I can see them in something, whatever,
Mm.
see them while also feeling the peace, and like, I don't know, observe them and let them bubble up and disappear. I don't know what, something like this. And just all of the old thoughts, all of the usual thoughts of, ah, if only, and irritation that people exist, and irritation that like I need people to feel safe, but if they're there, then I get dysregulated. Like all of the
Mm.
impossibility of everything. I'm always in a catch-22, because I need to be close enough to people to feel safe, but if they're there, I actually get annoyed because it disrupts my body. So the body starts to freeze and tense up, and then the mind goes into annoyance. So all the patterns were coming up, and I was just like seeing them. Um, and just this wistfulness of like, if I just focus right over there to the left, there's a patch of sunlight hitting these yellow flowers, and it's kind of a hazy sunshine, and it's just a glowy bliss. And if I could just focus on that, and no one speaks and no one smokes and no one coughs and there's no off-leash dogs, then okay, I got the bliss. Okay, ugh, they've ruined it again. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's my life. Like, find, like, because I think I clung to this idea as a child when I was unhappy. People like, well, you're ungrateful, or you're not blissful, or people in Africa are dying. If you would just be grateful for what you have. So I took that as trying to find and focus in, like hyper focus on, like, a tiny patch of sunshine, and kind of focus in on that and get high and like stick my whole attention there to the exclusion of everything else. And just all this sadness about having to mature into like, it's me. And also either that, or I go hyper focus into the despair or despondency or hopelessness, feeling that it's intellectually dishonest or disloyal to leave those or ignore them. It's like you have to be fully present with what's ever here and fully into it. So realizing all this like compartmentalizing or separation of different things that I've done as a child as strategies to cope with life, try to understand life, try to have a good and okay experience,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
realizing, oh shoot, I have to, maybe I need to, but it feels like contaminating. You don't want to contaminate one with the other. It's like either you're in the sacred or you're in the profane, either you're in hell or you're in bliss. Like, to sit in peace and allow muddying of the waters by someone smoking or coughing or yelling at their kid. It's like, oh, you're ruining it. So it's like that kind of thing. And it's like, so just all this was coming up really very fast, and just realizing my pattern of trying to find salvation or peace or okayness through finding that one patch of land, whether it's my fantasy of Switzerland or a ranch in like Wyoming or whatever it is, where the air is clear, no one's ever fighting, no one's smoking, there's no off-leash drug. You know what I mean? Like finding peace on earth. And and then I got very, very sad because I'm like, maybe it's not possible. Yet my system, every time I see a tiny patch of sunlight on yellow flowers, I'm still like, oh my gosh. And if a butterfly passes and no one smokes or coughs, like I just keep on every second that rises up again, every minute, every hour. It's that hope of like, I can optimize, I can find the blit. Like, if everything is just right and I smile in a certain way and you can't see my wrinkles in that angle, then that's it. I've got it. Now I'm a Barbie doll in a field of, butterflies. Like, anyway. And then I'm just describing my process, but then I got really upset because I was like, oh, that's never going to happen. And then a new thought crept in. It was like I had to give myself hope. And it's like maybe the hope is that what seems like bad stuff is not as bad as it seems. And when we actually sense into it, it's just warmth and energy that just got stuck and trapped because of all those, shoulds
Yeah.
or hold on or don't do that. And then the body, like these tiny muscles in the body, cling to those. It's like, because you have to hold on to so much. It's like, oh, my nephew's not getting fed well or he's getting yelled at. Well, hold on, because now my mother's calling. Wait, hold on, but my work. So that hold on, my muscles literally are holding on to all those
Yeah.
things. And so I'm just in constant tension. So it was just like all these epiphanies and like realizations and like, and I guess my one hope was that, you know, those fear for a place, and then we try to operate and pretend it's all not happening. And I think that's the definition of ignorance. You're trying to ignore what's there as a way to achieving bliss, but like, and then you're surprised why you're unhappy because on the surface where you are you think it's good, but underneath there's all these grippings that you're not looking at. And so I guess my just hope was, in the moment I was like, I had to give myself hope, was that when you look at those painful things, hopefully they just thaw and rewarm, and the muscles just come alive again and integrate back into the body rather than gripping and being frozen in the fear or tension or whatever you said. Wait, hold on, and they're still holding on. And that all the negativity is not as bad as we think, and that hopefully it just warms up into love. I don't know. That's the only thing I could tell myself. And um, and then as people passed, that sternum got so stuck, and just all the fear of like, oh no, people are passing, they're going to see you, oh god, danger, whatever it was. And then I guess from seeing it, it maybe released a little bit, but then just huge like, because I just want all of it to just release at once. I can't stand that there's all these tiny holdings that we have to go in and feel all them. It's like, I've been working on this my whole lifetime. Like, freak, why can't it just like all ease up at once? And it was just such a huge frustration. It's like, why does it have to be like this? Just like, I get it. I realize, let's go, let go everything. And yet it's like, Jack was saying 2%. I'm like, why is it so slow? Why is it drip by drip? So just so since then, it's just been feeling the turbulence come in, just, the peace on the one hand and wanting to deepen into that. And then all the old stories coming up, the huge, strong desires to go into the mind and solve, the fear of the future. Um, Someone I've been working with for a while is going to be retiring in a month. And she's like, well, you better start dating now because you only have me for another month and you don't want to be left alone. Your parents are getting old and dying. Your siblings aren't really, you better start dating. Go now. You have a month. And I'm like, um, um, anyway, so, all of these very strong things, dating is not something I've whatever. And then as an adult, you're dealing with a whole different pool of people. You're not 17 anymore. And even though I feel and act like it sometimes, but like, and then everyone is like old men who are like divorced or widowed with kids. And it's like, oh my God, I'm going to date an old man who's divorced or widowed with kids. So
Yeah.
the whole thing is just weird. And do I even want that? Or would I have even considered that if people didn't do it? You know, like if you live in Africa, you wear a loincloth. If you live here, people get married. It's like, is it something that this organism would like? Would I be happier with someone around? And this person is like, you're such a loving person. You love people. I'm like, I hate people. I like to be alone. She's like, no, no, no. You've just been around the wrong people, and your heart is always going out to people. And all you talk about is your relationship to people. I'm like, no, I like music. She's like, yeah, but you don't describe the music. You describe who was at the concert. You describe who you played with, how you related to each other. Anyway, it's all very interesting. But
Yeah.
um, so just all these frantic feelings of should I stay in the apartment again? Should I sign in a few months? Should I start dating work? All of the usual urgencies, especially with my parents getting older, my father's sick now. It's like, oh my God, I am alone. Help. What am I crazy? And just huge sorrow about having wasted all my decades, totally lost and confused and stuck chasing joy in like patches of sunlight rather than being okay with life and okay with my own foibles. Like I don't want to be like all these people who yell at their husband and yell at their kids. And so I stayed away from that because I don't want to be that. And I know that I can get irritated. I can be awesome for a few hours, but then I need quiet. And I don't want to be a person who's not nice to others. And so I'd rather be by myself. It's like my mother said, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything or go to your room. So I've gone to my room and I've been there for many decades because I don't want to, and so I don't accept other people being imperfect and I don't accept me being imperfect. So I only let myself out into public for a few hours a day where I know I can be perfect. And so, I don't allow others to see me when I'm not less than totally empathic, kind, considerate, holding of them above my own needs, attentive to them. Like, and it's not sustainable because I have to notice when I'm hungry, when I'm tired, and I push myself way beyond my limits, but there's still a limit. And then I need to go home and be alone. And what, there'll be a man there, and then I have to again be attentive and be like, yes, my darling. Like I can't always be performative as much as I can. There are a few hours a day where I can't be. And so all of these things are just really coming up and just feels like I'm in just like, yeah, a sea of waves coming up of just
Yeah.
turbulence of all of it.
Right. So right now, Tammy, let's just have about 30 seconds of silence. I just need
Sorry, that was a lot, I know.
you wore me out. I need a rest. Oh,
Ay, you see,
oh,
so it's hopeless. If I wore you out, how am I going to start dating anyone? So that's it.
oh, yeah, forget about that. That'll happen or not. That's another story, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at the beginning of that little trip around the world that we did, you talked about experimenting. I think, was that the word you used? Experimenting? I think it was. Do you remember that?
Possibly. That's how I've been framing it to myself. So it's possible that that came out. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was thinking back then, and it seemed like it was about 3 days ago, but it really only it was only a few minutes, but it felt like a long time ago. I wanted to
Oh,
ask
God.
you, I wanted to ask you, how did you feel about Tammy being an experimenter? I'm not sure if experimenting is the right word. I think you used another word, didn't you? What did you say? It was like exploring, but that was not the word you used, but that's the way I took it when you said, I'm, did you say you were experimenting? What was the word you used?
Either one of those could have
Hmm.
been.
So, all right, let's reframe it. At least let me put it in these terms. How did you feel towards Tammy the Explorer? What was your prime feeling about that happening?
About myself or about that happening?
About yourself being involved in the happening? the way you put it was that Tammy, that you were explore, explore. Yeah, my word is exploring. Oh, I forget the word you used. I don't know whether it was experimenting. Maybe it was experimenting, but anyway,
Does your AI work on the spot? We can check it up.
yeah, yeah, we
You
can look at
record these, but yeah.
trend. Yeah. So, so there was what I'm getting at is that there was Tammy was experimenting. Do you remember saying something along those lines?
Yep.
So can you come up with an answer or a story about how do you feel? How do you feel now about Tammy experimenting with things, looking for something, not sure what, but looking, just looking.
I find my face smiling sometimes.
Mm.
And
Hey Tammy, wait really quickly. Did
hey,
you say you
Jeff.
were experimenting with feeling safer in the body around regular life or something like
Yeah,
that?
around people. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks,
Was that
Jeff.
was that it?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you
Thank
want
you.
maybe you could expand on that for I don't know, whatever.
My question wasn't about that itself, but rather how you felt about that happening.
Um, it feels,
Do you feel
well,
brave?
it feels good. And of course, immediately I want to qualify that and say, well, that's because the weather has been beautiful and the people were nice and safe and they were kind
Yeah,
and there was no off-leash dogs. But because circumstances were okay. But yeah, it did feel nice to thaw a little bit and to be able to allow to be as a human. In
be
other words,
adventurous even.
yeah, but adventurous not by ramping up and climbing a mountain, but by sitting weirdly, like cross-legged on a bench or with my foot up or something, and relaxing in public, like being courageous in the opposite direction of what I usually am, which is make my body into stone, forge forward, and do what needs to be done. It was being courageous by not going into that and not going into the
Yeah.
mind. And
So presumably you feel good about being courageous, and that was really directed towards some kind of a letting go. Would that be accurate?
um, towards a letting go, yeah, I suppose more like, yeah, not going into the mind, not going into,
Mm,
yeah, like more like, no, 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 don't run away with the wild horses. Like, stay and see what happens. Like,
mm. And the outcome of that was,
um, a slight thawing and realization of like when I stick with attention, it's like here I'm being with attention or I'm being with the negativity. I'm with it. I'm present, but the clenching around it is trying to control it and control the letting go of it, controlling what comes up, holding on to it. And here was a different way. It was like allowing what wants to come up in its own time and really, in other words, I couldn't control the process of what's going to show up. Is it fear? Is it danger? Is it sadness?
yeah, yeah.
And
And
when
part
it's
of
going
the
to come up,
courage was that you allowed whatever was wanted to come up, eh?
yeah, and
Yeah.
be willing to deal with that. Yeah.
And presumably you felt good about that.
In the moment, as I said, it wasn't too hard. I was with someone, the partner doing it. The people were lovely. The weather was lovely. What came up wasn't too disturbing.
Oh
And
yeah,
yeah, it was.
not
quite pleased.
rationalize why. Let's just accept that that's what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you see the why tends to undo it a bit? Give credibility to the circumstances, give credibility to the surroundings, etc. That kind of takes a bit away from that it was happening in you.
Yeah, because I'm like, well, it wasn't, absolute hell, so, that you couldn't handle. In other words, recognizing that it wasn't that hard or whatever. Like I don't know if I could have done it if it was harder kind of thing. But
Yeah, 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 yeah. And what about the possibility that because that happened, it can happen more?
I really, really hope so.
Mm. See, the last thing I want, I'll put it another way, there's a trap in hope. So I don't want to put this in terms of hope. I want to put it in terms of something solid like what actually occurred. And simply because it occurred, the organism, the body, the organism knows how to do it and can find a way back to it. So that's not hope.
Yeah,
That's pretty kind of good biology or scientology, scientific or something, you know. Certainly not
nice.
psychology. But yeah.
Yeah. I just hope circumstances will be such that that will continue and that I'll be
Well,
wise about
oh,
it.
let's undo that a little bit. You know, let's not hope that circumstances allow it to happen again. Circumstances were certainly involved, but a lot of the circumstances were unconscious circumstances in you. Stuff we don't, circumstances we can't define, we don't really know about because they're unconscious. So,
Mm,
so if we're going to give circumstances credibility for allowing it or promoting it to happen, let's accept that a whole lot of those circumstances were ones in you that you don't even know about. So, but what I want to make is the emphasis on the fact that because it happened, it can happen again. It can happen more. And of course, as soon as I say it, your mind is going to come up with a whole lot of things to put a different emphasis on it. But
yeah,
you have to agree with that, don't you?
a huge sadness came up. I think I'm like exhausted. It's like constantly having new hope and trying new ways. I'm like, just it's so slow. It's like, will I ever be okay? And even on this new thing, it's like, will I be able to do it wisely? I feel like so stupid. It's like everything I try is just not compatible with how life is, like trying to find joy in a tiny patch of sunlight on flowers. Like, I don't know. It's like, why can't you just like be normal and get with the program? I don't know. Like, I don't know. Something about wasting my time here and feeling huge grief about it, you know? Like
Yeah.
other people have families and stuff, and that's it. That's not going to happen for me, probably. And it's like, I don't know. It's like sad that I've wasted my whole life, but
Well, that's a bit of a joke in itself, but the big joke is the idea that you know what it is like for other people. You've got no idea what it's like for other people. And
yeah,
a lot of those people who you say, they're happily married. Well, if you got into the details of it, you find that they're happy and unhappy, that there's all sorts of things goes on. So,
yeah,
careful what you wish for is
yeah,
partly that one. But yeah. So the whole idea, comparison's a bitch. You got to watch that one. But essentially, everything you're going through now is life.
Yeah.
And life doesn't is never static. It never stays still. It's always moving.
Even after awakening?
Absolutely.
I thought
Absolutely.
you find the stillness and that's it. You're good and everything else is surface.
That's what I said. Careful about that. Comparison's a bitch. Whereas how you think life is for me is probably not much at all like life is for me. But yeah,
Mm.
be careful of what you imagine. Yeah. But anyway, so, no, stillness. Yeah, well, if you want my experience of stillness, I don't know what that is.
Really?
I don't. I think stillness is a story. I hate to disappoint you, but I
We
can't.
don't get to sit in stillness and just watch the human foibles and laugh.
Well, watching human foibles certainly happens, but I don't know about from stillness.
Mm.
My experience is that there's no stillness. Everything's always moving. Everything's always in flux, always going. But not that, and don't get me wrong, not there's no effort involved in that, and there's no tension involved in that. It's just
Mm.
it's just the nature of the universe. Like I imagine that if you could zoom into an atom, you see and protons and neutrons and whatever. You see um, electrons zooming around a nucleus at a great rate, a huge, fantastic amount of energy involved. So if it's happening like that at a molecular level, at a nuclear level, obviously everything's made up of movement. There's nothing that's still. Things,
We never get to rest.
well, yeah, but when we rest, we're still moving, aren't we? It's just that I guess everything's moving together. Nothing's when things are not fighting each other.
But
There's no,
then we never feel good. We never feel at peace. We never feel rest.
oh, no, that's not true. Can you imagine that being at rest? Imagine yourself lying on a raft on a river and you're totally relaxed and lying there with the sun shining down on your face and feeling the warmth of the sun. And then you open your eyes and lift your head and look, and you're traveling at 20 miles an hour down the river. But until you opened your eyes, it felt like you weren't moving because it's smooth and you're moving at the same pace as the river. It's only when you look at the bank do you realize that the river is moving. Until you opened your eyes, it felt like you were still. So the way I see being at rest is moving at the same rate as that which you were swimming in, which is life.
You're saying when there's no resistance, even though there's movement, it feels like rest.
Yeah. But we have to be a bit careful about this analogy because as soon as we get up and start to do something, we create resistance, which eventually will tire us out and we need to rest again. But kind of maybe that's okay. It's just an analogy, isn't it? but there's no such thing as absolute stillness.
Hmm. That's what I've been searching for.
Mm. Maybe that's why you haven't found it.
So what do I do? I can't rest in peace and I don't know what to do.
Right. Allow the river to carry you. When you allow it to carry you, how quickly are you going to synchronize and move at the same speed, the same pace, in the same direction as it wants to carry you?
Yeah.
You see, and this is exactly, kind of this analogy that we're talking about. This is exactly what we're talking about. You keep thinking you've got to control it, and so you keep moving at a different rate to the river. And of course you get exhausted when that happens after a while.
Yeah, I think that's what happened yesterday in the forest. I allowed it to do the process rather than me, but
Yes,
only
yes.
for a few seconds, but
Mm. So that's a great one for you to put your attention on, because in doing that, you appreciate that you and it are not separate. You allow it, and it then is you, and you are it. Is that too esoteric? You get the analogy of that?
maybe a little.
Mm.
It kind of brought up the thought of like it's happening and my only choice is if to clench or not. And even that, I don't know if my choice, you know what I mean? But like,
Yeah, yeah. And guess
like,
what? Guess
yeah,
what? If you clench, it's still it happening. If you don't clench, it's still it happening.
yeah, yeah, it's so true.
It just becomes a different it.
Yeah, that it feels like I, and that it feels like it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And that's a big part of what we're looking to realize, is that the I it is a construct that is not in synchronized. It's not synchronous. It's not synchronized with
Yeah,
that
but
it.
now you're just making separation between these two processes. One process is a thought and then a body clench, and the other process is a release and then things bubble up. But are they both not it? I don't know. Maybe even the I is it. I don't know. That's what you were saying. In other
Yeah,
words,
yeah. Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? They're all it from one perspective.
the question is, can we influence either one? Like with the I it, it seems like I'm the one clenching, I'm the one believing the thoughts, I'm the one who's in resistance. And then if I let go, then the real it can bubble up. The question is, do we have influence over that through more subtle means like energy or intention or how much we relax or focusing on love? I don't know. There's
Well,
me trying to control also the it
yeah,
process rather than just the I process.
you could look at it from both perspectives, and one perspective is that you can do the clenching or you can do the allowing. And the other perspective is that both you clenching and allowing are just it doing what it does. So, and they're both accurate. They're not neither they're not exclusive of each other, really. See, this is a tricky one. This is a part of, a kind of a portal into a realization is that it doesn't matter what happens, it is just what's happening. And when you can take the perspective that it is just what's happening, it's the ramifications of that allow us to let go and go, well, if it is just what's happening, then I don't need to struggle to make it happen. And it will still happen. And that letting go, that not struggling, that letting go is where we start to synchronize with the movement of life. The
It
analogy
sounds
of
so
letting
woo.
go of the tiller, you see, whenever you got hold of that tiller, you think you're steering the boat. But when you let it go, guess what? It still runs right down the middle of the river. It doesn't take you to the bank. But when you've got the tiller, you've got to pay absolute attention to keep it in the middle of the river, because if your attention wanders, you'll end up steering it into the bank.
That's been my life, yes.
Mm.
But maybe you have a working boat and maybe others have a defunct boat and we have to be at the tiller. And if we let go, it won't ride in the middle. That's what I'm like convinced of secretly. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like you
yeah,
get to do that, but no. My boat is different.
yeah, it could be that you've got a tiller that when you let go steers you to the bank. No. Yeah. Oh, well, you're in trouble then, aren't you? Yeah. No, I don't believe that. Yeah. All analogies have a limitation, don't they? Mm.
I guess it just takes trust or whatever. Um,
What if we said this? I guess it just takes exactly what is happening.
hmm,
Does
that
that work for you?
is clearly true,
It is
but
clearly, it can't be any other way, can it really?
it could just God decided on this way, but it could be infinite other ways. And I'm kind of disappointed that he didn't do it a different way. It's like, why does it have to be by drips and drabs or this way? But I don't get why the world is like this, but it is. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, see, that's the tricky one, isn't it? When it comes to God, like if God is good, why is there so much so-called bad in the world? Isn't that also God? So
Yeah,
if
like why is there suffering
you,
and why
if
did
it
I
just,
waste so much time on wrong ideas and
yeah, so God only does good, then all the bad is good. We can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, God only does good and God and the devil is the one that does the bad, and then you realize, well, God created the devil. So that's also got to be good if God only does good. So there's no way
or God
out of
made a
you can't
mistake
have it
and
both
I have to
ways.
fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it gives me a sense of beauty, a sense of peace, a sense of synchronicity when I realize that, you know, absolutely everything that you have ever gone through and that you're going through now is all just perfect. It's all just part of you getting to where you're going to get to, wherever
So
that
you
is.
so you don't get into those questions that people have about why is there suffering and all that?
No,
Why is it this way?
I
Why is
have,
it so
I have in the past, but I don't any longer.
because it brings suffering, not because you found an answer. It's just there's no answer and you just suffer when you think about it.
No, no, that's not why I don't think about it anymore, why I don't have that problem. No, I've come up with stories that I recognize as stories that work for me about the suffering. Um, but also I recognize that ultimately I can't know. I
Yeah.
only I only have my perception of it. And I can see quite clearly why I have a perception of the suffering in the world and why I don't have a perception of all the good stuff that's happening in the world. And there is a lot of good stuff that's going on in the world, but that doesn't get on the news, does it? That doesn't get highlighted. That doesn't get put on much of it on social media. None of it on the news. Oh, very little maybe.
I
Um,
totally agree with you on that one, but the whole setup of the world seems just so stupid. People are born as babies and then they get with these stupid conditioning, and people are so stupid in how they raise their kids and
yeah,
they don't give
absolutely.
attention to it. The whole thing just seems ridiculous.
Mm.
It has to me since I'm about 8 years old. I'm like, what the heck is all this? But I
Yep.
guess that's already.
No, no, I went through the same stuff, for sure. Yeah, I think, well, why is it like this? It doesn't need to be like this. This is crazy, and yet there it was, And I do remember wanting to get to be 18 years old and have a car license and be somewhat independent. And when I got to 18, I was so disappointed that they still treated me like a kid. And then when I got to thought it must be happen when I get to 21, when I get to adult age. And when I got to 21, I went, fuck, they're all just bloody big kids. Where's the adults? There's no adults. Every one of them is just a kid in an adult's body. So I was extremely disappointed at that age. That's when I actually officially started seeking.
Mm.
Yeah. So it was like, and I look around now and I still see kids in adults' bodies all the time. And somebody said, I don't know who it was now, I forget now, maybe it was Carl Sagan or somebody like that said, you know, humanity is so stupid that they're the only species that will drive themselves to extinction because it's too expensive to save themselves. And I thought, yeah, that's pretty right. Then I think, if human beings wipe themselves out completely, cockroaches would become the dominant species and Earth would celebrate. Earth would get green again and be really healthy again without humans. But who knows what's going to happen, you know? Maybe I've got 20 years left, maybe less, who knows however long I've got, but it's not very long. So I'm probably not going to be around to see anything change very much. I've been waiting for change for the last 60 years and it's got worse, not better. So, am I going to hold out hope that the world is going to fix itself before I die? Nah, not 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 sensible, is it?
But that's already within the game. You're
Yes, that's
talking
right.
about fixing the planet. I'm talking about what is all this a priori? Like, what the heck? All these weird creatures with like arms and legs walking around. I don't know. The whole thing just seems ridiculous to me. But there's really no point in talking about it, I guess, because everyone who I ask, either thinks they have an answer or don't have an answer, either way, whatever. But
Hmm.
the point, I guess, is just something that still eats at me is what should guide me. When I say I wasted my life, it's because I feel I have abilities and I haven't put them to use in a way which serves myself and others in the best way. And I've wasted a lot of time on trying to find joy in places that can't last and trying to make them last, or just stupid
Oh,
way
no,
or maladaptive or
no,
something.
you've not wasted a single moment. No, you're just about at the end of your apprenticeship. It takes a long time to get to the point where you can feel pretty good about yourself. That's what old age is about. When youth youth is wasted on the young, absolutely wasted. Look at it, Jack.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, I definitely believe, the apprenticeship finishes around about my age. There you go. So yeah, no, you got a little bit longer to go before you finish your apprenticeship. You're not my age yet, are you? So there you go.
I'm
No,
a,
there's no such thing as waste. and there's no such thing as time. So you certainly can't have wasted time. But I get what you mean. I do know what you're saying, but it's not wasted. Believe me, I would have said, right. I mean, I was 65. I was 65 when I woke up. And I would have
Mm.
said, when I was 64, I would have said, "Oh, God, am I ever going to learn? It's what a waste of time. This whole life and now when I think to 65, I think, wow, that's young. I wouldn't mind being 65 again. None of it was wasted. It was all necessary. It was all part of the learning process. Absolutely every single moment, every single second of it was absolutely necessary. None of it was wasted. It seemed like it at the time, and you'll say the same thing I'm saying now one day. I'll guarantee it. I'd put money on it. You know,
Mm.
metaphorically, of course. But yeah, I know, I get it. I fully get it that you think you've wasted a lifetime, but you haven't. It's all been part of the learning. And that's why we live so long, because it takes that long to learn.
And if you had a young child now, or what should I say to myself or to my nephew? In other words, what do you feel is valuable guiding principles for what is a good life, or how to spend a life, or how to spend your time, or what is um of
Yes,
value, or what should guide
I
me
hear
in
your
my decision?
question. Yeah. I don't, it's a really tricky one. I do remember, my eldest grandson is now, I don't know exactly what his age is. He's about 20. He must be 30, I think, 29 or 30 anyway, years old. And I can remember wanting to speak to him when he was about 8 years old, because I could see that he was going to have trouble
Mm,
with his emotional outbursts and stuff like that at that
mm,
age. And I took him aside to speak to him, and I don't remember what I actually said, but I do remember that he just totally ignored what I said and went about having a terrible, terrible 10 years of his life, and suffered severely, and estranged himself from the family, etc. And now he's fully human again and back at it, and he's a lovely kid at the moment. Um, but he went through a stage where he hated everybody and he didn't get on, and so on and so on. So I have a lesson that I learned, and that is that, you can have the best intentions in the world and maybe have no effect whatsoever. And so thing is, if people are in your life, and he wasn't most of the time, if people are in your life, then it doesn't matter what you say, it's what you do that affects them. Show them. Show them that you're calm. Show them that you have peace. Show them that you're philosophical about things. Show them that, whatever. And that's the best effect you can have on them. So, I would say don't worry about what you can teach your kids. You can't teach them anything. They'll learn what they're going to learn. And they'll probably go through all the stuff that you went through. Good chance that they'll do their version of that anyway, because that's maybe the way it is. Maybe we have to
mhm.
to get into a really bad place before we can come out of that into a good place. Maybe we can't go straight to a good place. I don't know. I really have no idea.
Yeah. It's like you feel if you had a village of really awesome people, would all the kids grow up well, or would they still have to go through their own version of things? But
Yeah, I mean, kind of think they would. They would go through that. Yeah. So
you
I can't.
can't avoid it. Yeah. But what about myself, Vince? What, like, now that I'm starting to look at things slightly differently and starting to experiment with, different uh,
Yes.
responses to thing or whatever, what should guide me in my choices about living places, who I bled into my life? Do I date? Do I work? Like, what guides how I spend my time and what makes it into my day? Like,
Yes,
what
yes. Okay.
values or goals? Like, what guides me?
I have a clear answer to that, and that is that you let life do that for you. Right. So it's not as if you can predict what's going to happen and allow something to guide you into that. It's that you wait for life to present you and then you go along with whatever is presented. That's a profound answer, and that's a really big thing to be able to do. Right. So
Mhm.
so how do you decide? You don't decide. You let life decide. And how do you comply? Well, you don't. You just go along with whatever is offered and
Mhm.
and wait for the outcome. And well, there won't be an outcome because there won't be a final anything. There will be a
Mhm.
so you
Yeah.
you you wait for life to offer you direction and then you go. So you don't decide to date. You will find yourself considering it. Will I date or will I not date? And then while you're doing that, somebody will ask you out or not. Right? And it could be somebody that sits down next to you on the bench in the park and strikes up a conversation, or it might be on a dating app. Or here's an interesting one. My brother told me about this app that he met his current girlfriend on, and my brother is 70, he's 73, right? And he recently separated or divorced his wife. I presume it was a divorce. Anyway, him and his, I don't even know if they were married now, to tell you the truth. But anyway, he was his long term partner, and him separated. He's 73 years old, and he's now happily involved with another woman. And he told me the other day that he got an app called Stitch, I think it was, Stitch, something like that. And it's not a dating app, it's a companionship type app. And it's all over the world, and people who get on that find groups of people that they go and have meals with and go to outings with and whatever. And sometimes out of that, romantic relationships occur. But there you go. Anyway, so that's something that he did. So whether
Mhm.
it's something like that for you, or whether it's somebody that sits down beside you in the park and starts talking to you and says, oh, I'm interested in this person who's sitting here with their eyes closed, meditating. That looks like a pretty together person. And they'll sit next to you and then the next thing you know, you go out for a meal or whatever with them. Who knows? Life will decide those things. You don't have to worry about deciding. You don't have to do it. It'll happen or not happen all by itself.
Well, if I would ask you, here's my answer to with the, in other words, if I would ask you, what is a life well lived? What I'm hearing from you is you're open to the opportunities life presents and you minimize suffering by not going too much into second arrow stuff.
Yeah, yeah. That sounds pretty good to me. Now, when you say that, I want to say to you that you don't have to do the second one, minimize suffering by not going into the second arrow stuff. Just be aware of what comes up, and that will happen.
Mm-hmm.
Or even if you're not aware and it comes up, you'll then become aware because it's come up. So again, you nothing for you to do. It'll just happen.
Mm-hmm. It seems weird. It seems like if you're a parent or guiding a young person, or me guiding me, who I consider a young person, because I feel like I'm just starting out my life or not even starting, it's like it feels like there should be more to say, like, this is valuable, this is not, I don't know, something like try get along with people, get married, have a work, be kind, be whatever, or take care of yourself, don't worry about others, or I don't know, there should be some more directives, but I guess.
Well, there are more directives, but you don't take notice of them. So what about this one? Just be Tammy. You're a lovely person. I would be honored for you to be my friend. So you don't need to do a single thing, Tammy. Just be Tammy.
That's not true, Vince. I exhaust you in the first 3 minutes of my talking. You feel like it's 3 years.
You see, that's not strictly true. You took a
Hmm.
bit of truth there and you turned it into something that it wasn't. Right?
Hmm.
I did feel that way for all of a I don't know 30 seconds or something afterwards. But how quickly did I recover, and how quickly it was
True.
it was fine. It wasn't a big deal,
Hmm.
because I partly because I didn't deny what I was feeling, and
Hmm.
I asked for that moment of silence to recover, and that's all it took. It was probably not even the moment, but just the asking.
Hmm.
And with it came an exhalation and instant recovery. And I don't
Hmm.
see it as it wasn't a bad thing. Do I feel angry at the wind when it buffets me when I go outside, or if it blows? You put up with those things. It's just life. It happens. I didn't mean to say it. You put up with it like I have to tolerate it at great pain. You just accept that that's what happened. It was not a big deal. Hey, Tammy, I still love you in spite of the fact that that happened. Well, that shut you up, didn't it?
It's more like I would like to perfect Tammy, so I don't, so I'm always optimal in how I handle life and how I relate to people, so I don't exhaust people. But yeah.
Yeah. So if you're like this here and not like this out there, I'm glad I know you're here, not out there, because if you were like this out there, I would still find you lovely. If you're stressed out and trying to control things out there, I probably wouldn't feel so good with you. But I love the way you here are so free and spontaneous. That's really good stuff. And did you read what Jack just wrote?
Yeah, I just saw it. That's really sweet.
Yeah. And I believe Jack. He's not bullshitting you. He's telling you what his actual experience was. At least that's my story about him.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So are we weird that we like you? Is there something wrong with us that we like you? Or maybe it's because you are likable.
Or you guys are just really kind, but yeah.
Oh, stop it. We're not stroking you for the sake of a reaction. We're trying to tell you our experience.
Hmm.
Bit hard to cope with, little tensy bit difficult to accept that.
A little. Yeah, I'm just like trying to see if I can accept that you're not just being nice or trying to encourage me, but
Hmm. Not here. If I find anybody nice and fake here, I'll call them out really quickly.
mm,
See, so you probably don't feel as good towards Tammy as I do.
probably.
Mm.
That's why I've been trying to perfect her for so many years and won't allow her to date or have relationships because it's like, no, 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 you have to first be.
Yeah, but believe me, if you were perfected in the way that you thought perfection was, I probably wouldn't feel this good about you.
Mm,
was my thought is the perfect Tammy who's like has it all together sounds so much less fun. Like, please don't become that person, if anything. Like you're good. You chill.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it. Ah, well, thanks, guys. That's helpful.
Yeah. So just relax, Tammy, and keep being the brave explorer that you are sometimes. Courage that, yeah. You'll find so much stuff out about Tammy that you didn't know was possible.
And when the huge sadness arises about wasting my life and still having no clue and all of that, just
Mm.
whatever.
Well, when that happens, you can appreciate that that's one of your greatest potential opportunities
Or
for discovering beliefs that you have.
mm,
So when
nice.
I say that, though, it immediately comes to me that, but you haven't yet accepted or realized that a belief is just a story that you hold to be true. So things turn up for you in your mind in as thoughts. Things turn up pretending to be a fact, pretending to be a truth, when in fact they're nothing more than a page off a book. They're always fiction, always fiction. Sometimes they point to something that's fairly accurate, but essentially they're always fiction. And there you are. There's the crux for you, that you take some of them to be fact, and they never are. They can't be fact, because fact cannot exist in the form of words.
But you said some of them point to something fairly accurate.
Yeah, they can. Yes. Not many of yours do yet.
But even though, but I can still see, I like what you said, because if I'm sad, I can try and realize which belief is causing that. And even if I still believe the belief, I still can see that it causes the sadness. There's still value
Absolutely.
there. Like, yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's good. That's a big one. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Definitely a tale of adventure, that one. Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's brilliant in that it has the potential to break the connection.
Yeah.
Mm. So I would say yes, make that really big, that one. Put emphasis on that. Even if you believe a belief is true, at least you can see that that's the one that promotes a particular reaction in you.
Yeah. And I like what you said. I have to remember that. You said if I feel a strong emotion like sadness, it's a great opportunity. And then
Mm.
go look at it as opportunity and then go find the belief or something like that. Okay.
Yeah, 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 that's good stuff. Yeah, yeah. See, this is a totally different Tammy to even just a few months ago.
Mm.
Great, I love it. Yeah, there you go.
Oh God, I'm really scared. I hope it continues. But yeah, no, it's very different.
That's a belief that you have. I've got to hold my mouth right, or it'll go
Yeah.
away. Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, thank you, Tammy.
Perfect. Thanks, guys, so much. Thank you, Vince. Truly, you are a treasure in my life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jack. Now I'll go back and be with my wife.
Yay.
Thanks.
Enjoy.
That's